So I recorded a video today earlier, but I really wasn't happy with how I was just formulating my thoughts. It felt so clunky, and it went over 20 minutes too. That's one of my pet peeves now. Well, it always was, where it just I try to make it go under 20 minutes and it just always manages to surpass it just by a little bit, just a few minutes. So I'll try to get into the meat of the topic and just speed run it basically. Today, I burned. Oh, I don't know if you can see it there. Oh, you can kind of see it. So the camera actually doesn't change focus because I set it to manually be at this focus point, but you can kind of see it right here. Oh well, the whole point is I burned myself and it's basically a scar now. I don't know if it's a permanent scar though. Probably not. Kind of hope not. I don't like scars. I have a scar on my forehead though. Did you know? Fun fact. Yeah, you can kind of see it more clearly there. Yeah, you can see the white right here. It's a bit harder to see. Oh no, you can see it. But it's a big line right there. And that happened when I was a toddler, a baby, and my mom was carrying me on her lap, and she wasn't paying attention for a few seconds, and I fell forward and I hit my head against a wall on the corner of a wall, and the corner of the wall was in that house very sharp. I didn't know. I mean, now that I think about it, walls are just generally pretty sharp. So the corner of the wall pierced through my forehead and started bleeding out. Apparently, it was really scary. So called an ambulance too. Went to the hospital, got it stitched up, and here I am. I'm still alive. Woo! Now I'm thinking maybe it would have been. I don't mean this in a depressing tone. Maybe it would have been better if I had not made it, because maybe I'd just be in heaven now without having to worry about all of the sins that I've committed. From what I know, if you unborn babies, before you have your first communion, if you're baptized, you go to heaven. Once you have communion, you have to start going to confession, and that's when your sins count, if you will. But I'm here today, so there must be a reason for that. This must have been the best path. This must have been God's plan. I don't know why I talked about that, honestly. That had nothing to do with what I wanted to talk about. Actually, no, it did. I guess it does. Now that I see the title of the note. So somebody left a comment on one of my videos basically describing how he went through a breakup and he's just been feeling emotionally numb for the past years. I think he said something like 14 years. It was a while that he's been emotionally numb like this. And I replied to his comment, gave him a bit of advice, but I think I need to be more thorough in the advice that I give. A lot of people are going through this. It feels like there's this. It feels like. No, it does feel like. I can't guarantee if it's true, but it just feels as though we're going through an epidemic of depression, of teenage loneliness, teenage sadness, and young adult sadness and loneliness. And this kind of propagates to the older generations, to the baby boomers, because who are the baby boomers talking to? Other baby boomers? Who are the above 60? Who are the elderly talking to now? Yeah, they're just talking to other elderly. They can talk with the younger people, but the younger people will not reciprocate. The younger people just want to be on their phones, want to do their own thing. Even in the older days, though, when phones weren't as prevalent, prevalent, it's still going to be hard for someone with such two people with such varying ages. I mean, someone that's 60 talking to someone that's 12, very hard to relate to anything. Age is such, with age comes, generally comes maturity, and there's just so much experience that you haven't experienced, that you lack, maturity that you lack. So many things you just don't understand yet as a 12-year-old. And things that you've forgotten as a 60-year-old, what it's like to be 12. And things that you can't do as a 6-year-old now that you're geriatric, now that you're older, now that you're lacking that mobility. Yeah, that's a bit sad. Emotionally numb. So, the advice that I gave, the advice that I want to give. I'm keeping track of the time, making sure I get under 15 minutes. I wanted to make it under 10 minutes, but I realized this is over. There's no way I'm making it under 10. Speed run. Socializing, especially with friends. To get out of this is my list for dealing with emotional numbness. My personal list. I can give you advice, but I think I think, well, honestly, I have no idea if any of this can be objective at all, because this is something that I've gone through, but it's not very talked about. It's more on the taboo side. So all of this is under the assumption that it is my experience, it is my advice. And this is not medical advice. This is not professional advice. Socializing with friends, socializing in general, especially with friends. So when I was in this emotional numbness phase, I tried to get out of it by socializing with as many people. So I thought it had to do with being alone, being secluded from my friends. I think that was part of it. So this was back when I was in Waterloo. Actually, no, I had a summer term when I was studying at Waterloo. Summer term, but I studied at Waterloo, but I was at home, so I was online. And I was only taking 2 classes. But they're still really difficult classes. And I wanted to do well in them. I still didn't even do that well. And it messed me up being online because I wasn't with any of my friends. All my friends from my hometown were at university, and all my friends from school, from university, were not at my hometown, were at university. So there was no win. It was just a loss, a massive L, if you will. So I socialized with as many people as I could. Since I was emotionally numb, I could do things that I couldn't do beforehand, that I couldn't do because I was too shy. So I would talk with random people. I would just strike up conversation. And I realized part of it was enjoyable. It was a little enjoyable, but since I was emotionally numb, I didn't really derive that much pleasure from it. It wasn't that fun to me. It was just new. And because it was new, it gave me more pleasure than it normally would have, than anything else could have really given me because of just the novelty. But I still found it at times annoying. I did it simply because I thought it was going to make me feel better, but not because I wanted to do it. Because I needed anything to kick me out of this emotional numbness. Especially with friends, because so I say especially socializing, especially with friends, because I think your friends are really what make it fun. What makes socializing fun? What make activities fun? Just hanging out with friends is fun. Talking with friends. Okay. Next bullet point: praying in silence, meditating on thoughts. Just reaching a really relaxed state after being still for a while. When I was really emotionally numb, when I say emotionally numb, I also kind of mean depressed. I do mean depressed. Praying in silence. There was this one time, I think there was a couple of times where I prayed in silence, but one time that I remember more vividly, more clearly than the others, I went to the sacristy. I think it's called sacristy, the place where where there's adoration, where they keep I do not know the terms, the host, but in that special casing, the monstrance. Aha. All my Catholic fellows will know what I'm talking about. And it's not a church, it's just a mini chapel. It's a chapel. And there's, there, at my parish, it was cool because they had perpetual adoration. So there was always someone with the monstrance. I think they broke the perpetual adoration in COVID because they were forced by law to, which shouldn't have been the case, but topic for another video. I sat in a chair, in a comfortable position. It was a comfortable chair too. And there's different ways to pray. You don't just have to pray Our Father. You don't have to pray set prayers. You can just talk with God. And I remember doing that. Just thinking and thinking. Maybe honestly, it wasn't completely with a focus on God. But I realized I'm in the adoration room. How can I make this a bit more focused towards God? And I realized I can leave this God. I can give this to God. I'm talking with him and I leave it to him. There's something freeing about that too. That's why I think you should be Catholic regardless of whether you believe in it or not. Giving yourself to something, having giving yourself to something that's more important than anything. And also knowing that it's always going to be okay. Always having somebody to take care of you. There's always someone who's going to love you unconditionally. You don't even get that from, I mean, some people don't even get that from their parents. Their parents' love is conditional. That's a sad thought. But God loves you no matter what. Next bullet point. Man, it's already 15 minutes. Doing things that you were afraid of, taking advantage that you're numb. Approaching girls, talking to strangers, going to bars. Man, this was such a. It wasn't a fun time because I was emotionally numb and I didn't derive any pleasure from it because I was so emotionally numb. But I I remember approaching girls. I don't think I approached too many actually. I may have just approached two because I didn't want to be weird. I could, I could have approached so literally every single girl that I came across or that I thought was attractive, but it would have been really weird. And I, the idea was not to just approach for simply approaching. The idea was to generate a relationship. Now, it didn't end up happening. Long story short, but it was a new experience because I had never cold approached before. Very new to me. Yeah, new experience. Don't know what else I can say about that. Going to bars, that one I didn't find too fun. I still don't find fun. I don't really like going to bars. Talking to strangers. Strangers have some interesting stories. You'd be surprised how willing a stranger is to talk to you, especially the older crowd. If they're above 40, they'll generally be okay with talking to you. You'll mention something, you'll strike up a conversation, and then they'll lead the rest of the conversation. You don't have to worry about running out of things to say. They'll take it from there. Next bullet point, do new things. Novelty is where you'll get your dopamine, I think. That that's the main source that you can get it from when you're this emotionally numb. The things that you enjoyed before. I played soccer. And I like soccer. And I decided I there was one day I was so depressed, so emotionally numb. I could not I could not feel anything but sadness. That was a really bad time. I think that was the worst time in my entire life, the saddest time in my entire life. It was beyond awful. There was nothing I could do to cheer myself up. I think I tried watching funny videos, and even that didn't help. Usually that helps. Maybe I didn't try that. I hope I didn't try that because, well, I hope it would have worked. I hope it did work, but I just didn't think of it. It almost always works. It always works. It always cheers me up. But I thought, you know what? I'll get exercise. I'll play soccer. I'll go in my backyard and I'll start juggling. And I had done this earlier in the week too. So I was just getting back into the rhythm of doing it. And it did nothing. But I think part of it was I was relying so heavily on it to do something because I was so down. There was just I just knew nothing could help me. And I thought, no, I let's be optimistic. Maybe soccer will help. If my friend was feeling this down, this is the advice that I'd give him. Do this. Do something. Just do anything. I remember thinking that. Such a awful time. Do not recommend at all being emotionally numb, being depressed. Yeah. Next point. Smelling fragrances, lull, highly specific to me. So back then I was interested in fragrances, But I didn't think of going to Shoppers Drug Mart and smelling fragrances. That might have pulled me out of it. That might have helped. So, okay. Another really important thing to note is a lot of this is going to be in your mind. Well, okay, obviously it's in your mind, but a lot of it is how you think placebo. If you think it's not going to work, if you think I'm so emotionally numb, nothing's going to work, then nothing's going to work. But if you try to give it that hope that it will work, you say to yourself, this will work. This might work. This is going to work for me. Give yourself that placebo. You at least give yourself higher odds of it working, higher odds of you getting out of that rut. For the soccer one that I mentioned earlier, I was thinking that. I was trying to be as positive as possible, but it was so brutal. Smelling fragrances, I didn't try that. That would have been interesting to try though. Fragrances, going to Shoppers, going to Sephora, it cheers me up. Makes my day. Music. So the next point, music. Happy question mark. I can't remember music happy. Oh, right. Okay. So recently I've made this happy mix on Spotify. I have this happy playlist. And the music that you play, I think that's pretty reflective of your state of mind, how you're feeling, your mood. So if you play happy music, it's you're still able to feel sad, but it's much easier to feel happier. But likewise, if you're listening to sad music, you're going to be sad. It's very hard to get, and you're already sad. If you're already sad and you're listening to sad music, it's going to be hard to get out of that. So try to listen to happy music. The points were in order of what I believe to be most effective. So recapping, socializing, especially with friends, praying in silence, meditating on thoughts, just reaching a really relaxed state after being still for a while. Third point, doing things that you're afraid of, taking advantage that you're numb. So you approach girls, talk to strangers, go to bars. Next point, do new things. Next point, smelling fragrances. Next point, listen to music. Listen to happy music. And so I have a couple more things listed. Well, not listed, but a little thing that I want to say. I went on roller coasters around this time, and I couldn't feel any butterflies. But at the end, the simplest one gave me butterflies consistently. I remember this. So I went to Canada's Wonderland with a friend. Big part of why I did this was because I was emotionally numb and I was really depressed and I needed something to get out of it. And I thought hanging out with my best friend would do it. My best friend Ryan. So we went to Canada's Wonderland. And we got the fast lane pass because it was Canada Day. So busy. We realized we have to, if we want to get on more than 3 rides today, we're going to have to get the fast lane pass. So we got the fast lane pass. We sped around. We did a bunch of rides. We did like 8 maybe, which is maybe not worth it for the fast lane pass considering how expensive it is. But it was fun. But no, actually, it wasn't fun because I couldn't feel any butterflies. We went on the first roller coaster and I felt butterflies for maybe half a second, less than half a second. And that was it. I could not feel butterflies for any other roller coaster. Any roller coaster. Nothing. Nothing gave it to me. I wasn't afraid. The thing with being emotionally numb is you're not afraid of really anything. It just didn't give there was nothing. But then we went on this swinging boat. Children go on it. There's no age limit for it. And I went on it And the first swing, I felt butterflies, full butterflies. And then it went back, and I felt butterflies again. And then it went forward, and I felt butterflies every single time it swung. That was really encouraging after having the entire day unsuccessful with feeling the whole point of going to a roller coaster, with feeling butterflies, with feeling scared, energetic, excited, fear, any emotion. I'm really glad I went. I was happy after that. I was so happy. I think we went on it twice because of how happy I was. But then I started getting nauseous, so I was like, I can't do it again because then I will actually be nauseous. But I'm glad I went on it twice. That was useful to me. Okay, I'll close off with this. This is the last part that I have. My purpose is to help other people, and I think it's yours too. Do that and see if it helps. And don't cling on to that numbness just because you want to be victimized. If you get happy, yes, that's good, and don't look back. I'll break it down. My purpose is to help other people, and I think it's yours too. Enough said. Do that and see if it helps. Enough said. And don't cling onto that numbness just because you want to be victimized. If you get happy, yes, that's good, and don't look back. What I was saying earlier. The placebo. There's some people that define themselves as sad. They define their personality as sad or depressed. They define themselves as depressed. And if you want to be depressed, if you want to be victimized as being depressed, you're going to be depressed, and there's nothing that can take you out of that. And you're going to, sure, you could watch funny videos and then laugh. Somebody tries to bring you out of that state and manages to make you laugh, and then you'll just immediately go right back to it because you're stubborn and you want to be victimized. But don't be that person, because don't be like that, because you're only ruining yourself. Use the placebo. Please be happy. You want to be happy, and honestly feel that. Honestly, don't define yourself as sad. Don't define yourself as depressed. I hope that helped. I don't know. I'm sure as I get older, I'll have some more experience to give, some more advice to give, but I think that's some pretty solid advice for now. This was also a while ago, so it's not super clear. And it's not even clear to me that I could have pulled myself out of this. These points that I gave, I think these are the highest likelihood of pulling me out of it, but I don't think it's guaranteed. I don't think any of them are guaranteed. But probably the most powerful one is praying. It's just also accepting stoicism, which is ironic considering emotional numbness. But what I mean is, there is no, you are on the good path. You're always, everything happens for a reason. And you may think some things are bad because you perceive them as bad, but they're actually good. In the long run, they'll be good. Trust in that. Trust in that. Good luck.